Hi everyone, it's Elise from MyCupcakeAddiction. Today I'm going to be showing you how to take some of your regular candies and turn them into even cuter candies to use to top your cakes and cupcakes. We're going to be making CandyLand themed cupcakes, so let's get started. The things that you'll need for today's tutorial: I've got a cupcake, of course, I've got a couple of lengths of ribbon, and I've got a marshmallow rope, so it's kind of like a twist of soft marshmallow, one boiled lolly. I've got a couple of fruit chews, so this is kind of like a chewy taffy. I'm using pink and yellow today. You can also use fondant or modelling chocolate here. 2 mini Oreos, a piece of caramel fudge or a caramel chew, some chocolate chips, and some little round pink pearls. They're just going to be to go on top of our cake, so you can use any kind of a sprinkle you like there. I've got some scissors, a toothpick, a skewer. Now this is not quite as long as your regular skewers. You can either cut one down or you can buy them shorter. A knife, some of our buttercream frosting. I'll link to our recipe in the description box below. And I've also got just some sprinkles. All right, so we're going to start off just by making some of our little decorations. So we'll start off with the easiest, which is just going to be these little caramel chews. So I just made these into basically mini-sized caramel chews. Just cut them in half and then in half again so that you've got kind of just these little tiny cubes of caramel. They're just a bit of an extra. There's nothing really technical to those ones. I just thought they added a little bit of something at the back of my cupcake so the back wasn't looking too bare. Now I'm going to use these chocolate chips to make kind of like little mini whoopie pies or little mini filled cookies. So I'm just going to take some buttercream frosting in my toothpick and just put a little bit of frosting onto one of those chocolate chips and then use the other chocolate chip just to sandwich it together so that it peeks out the sides. Make a few of those. They're once again just a really simple, nice little space filler, and you can see I've used them there on the front. All right, now for our little candy, we're going to take some of that taffy or some of your fondant, depending on what you're using, in a similar colour. So I've got a yellow boiled sweet. I'm just going to cut off 2 very similar sized pieces of that taffy. If you're using taffy or a fruit chew, you can microwave it for 5 or 10 seconds just to make it a little bit softer and more pliable. And then you just want to sort of flatten it out with your fingers and take your scissors to cut in your little kind of jagged edges, like it's the edges of a candy wrapper. With that one, you want to make sure that it is tapering in on a nice little angle. You can use your fingers just to neaten it off. And then you want to take your boiled sweet and you just want to wrap that sort of around the back. So it's actually going right around the back of the sweet. It gives you the effect of being a traditional little wrapped lolly. Then we'll repeat that with the other side. Perfect. There's your little wrapped candy ready to go on top. Now to make your cake, really, really simple. I'm going to take a little bit more of, I'm going to use a pink fruit chew for this one, or pink taffy. And you want to take those 2 mini Oreos. Now with your mini Oreos, take the lid off one. So just split them, pop that off to the side or eat it. And you want to just affix that half to the bottom half. So what you're getting there is kind of like a little tiered cake. It looks like 3 layers of cake and 2 layers of frosting. Make sure that you've got clean hands and no Oreo crumbs on them. And then you want to take that taffy, and I found about half was pretty good here, and just squeeze it out into like a bit of a circle. You want this to be a little bit kind of rough or textured on the edges because we want it to go over the side like frosting. So I just took my finger and just sort of went around and just made these little indentations which kind of make it look like, when you look at a cake, that dribbling frosting down the sides of the cake. Then you want to take that piece of taffy and you're just going to lay it over your Oreo, and then you just want to take it and just push that pretend frosting down around the edges. Something like that. Now you can take your little sprinkles, and these are going to look like little pretend cherries on our cake, and they should just stick directly to the taffy. If you decide to use fondant or modelling chocolate rather than the taffy or the fruit chew, you'll need a little bit of water just to stick these down. Perfect. There's our little tiered cake ready to go. Finally, we're going to make our little marshmallow lollipop. So these marshmallow ropes come in all different lengths, and it's up to you depending on what you can find where you are. I found I didn't quite need a whole one. I think I used about half for each. So snip it in half and then twist it around. You only want this to be a small lollipop. All right, now taking the pointed end of my skewer and piercing it through roughly where this join has happened so that you're getting as neat a finish as you can. Support the whole lot so that you're not squashing it too far out of shape, and poke that skewer through the center. There's your little lollipop. Attach a little bit of ribbon around the base of that skewer just to give it a little bit more color and a little bit more definition. So now that all of your decorations are done, it's as simple as frosting up our cupcake and putting it all together. So really, really simple for frosting. I'm just going to take some nice big generous scoops of that vanilla frosting, and you can use any flavor you like here. And I'm just scooping them onto the top of the cupcake. Then I'm going to use the back of my knife just to flatten them down to make a bit of a nice mound, but it doesn't have to be particularly neat. Something a little bit like that. Now take your cupcake and you want to roll it into those sprinkles. giving it a really nice coating. And then so that you've got your really lovely cupcake dome, just use the palm of your hand just to dome that off. To stick your decorations in, you can start off with your lollipop. So just measure it out, see if you want to cut any off. I might just cut a little tiny bit off the bottom of mine. I like to put mine sort of just towards the back and off on a little bit of an angle. Then you want to clear a space for your little cake. So just use your toothpick and just expose a little bit of that buttercream frosting under those sprinkles. That's really just so that your cake's got something to stick to and it's not just going to fall off the dry sprinkles. Push that right down into the frosting. Next comes your piece of candy. Over this side, once again, just expose a little bit of that frosting and straight down with your piece of candy. And I like to put the little whoopie pies or biscuits at the front here. You want most of the detail on these to be at the front, but like I said, we've got those little caramels, so you can just expose a little space at the back here and just pop in some of those little caramel chews just so that your back's not too naked on our cupcake. And that completes your little CandyLand inspired cupcake. I hope you guys have loved this tutorial. If you're not already subscribed to My Cupcake Addiction, make sure you head on over to my channel and hit the subscribe button for lots more fabulous cake decorating ideas.